Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is not Mike from Games from Scratch. Welcome back. Some time ago I watched Mike's videos on why you should use game engines like Godot and Unity, and it got me thinking, why should you use Pygame? Or rather, why do I enjoy using Pygame so much on my projects? So in this video let's take a look at Pygame's strengths, explore legitimate reasons why you might choose Pygame to develop your dream game, unleash your creativity and sharpen your programming skills. This instead of using more traditional and established game engines like Unreal Engine, Unity or Godot. Like Mike, I will try to focus on Pygame's strengths. I won't talk about its weaknesses, which are certainly many. And I will also try not to discuss much about the other game engines mentioned earlier. You can check out Mike's excellent videos on the Games from Scratch channel for that. Additionally, my considerations are based on my personal experiences, so some points might not make much sense to you, and that's okay too. So let's start with one of the most obvious points on the main reason I use Pygame in my projects, the Python language, which Pygame is built on. I started programming in Python several years ago due to my interest in areas like data analysis and artificial intelligence. Before that, I had my first experience with programming in C during my undergraduate studies. I really liked the idea of writing my own programs and running them on my computer. But things like syntax and the need to compile the code to be able to run it didn't excite me enough to attempt more complex projects. With Python, on the other hand, everything is much simpler. With a much more natural syntax, programming really flows. Or when it doesn't, it's very easy to seek help on sites like Stack Overflow, YouTube, and nowadays even the various AI tools available. In other words, there's much less friction in development, and when you want to see the result, you just run the script directly in the interpreter, without needing to compile it to create an executable. It didn't take long for me to start making games. At first, I tried using libraries that weren't made for games. My first game was actually made with Matplotlib, a library designed to create graphs. Go figure. Soon I started using Pygame, and everything became much easier. I began to venture into increasingly complex techniques and projects. So one of Pygame's main advantages inherited from the Python language is its ease of use. If you already know a bit of Python, then you won't have any trouble learning Pygame. But if you don't, you can quickly learn it while learning Pygame. In my opinion, this alone already makes Pygame the ideal choice for beginners and casual developers. But there's more. One aspect that sometimes causes some initial skepticism is that Pygame is not a traditional game engine, but rather a framework that offers a high degree of flexibility and customization, allowing you to have greater control over the development process and adapt this framework to your specific needs. In other words, Pygame has various tools and functionalities available, but if you want, you can use only some of them. For example, you can create your own rendering functions and just use Pygame to display the final result on the screen. You can use Pygame only for user input and so on. In summary, with Pygame you have the freedom to do things your own way, which brings us to the next point. Also inherited from the Python language is the vast ecosystem of libraries you have at your disposal to integrate into your project. Not only for introducing more advanced functions like hardware acceleration via OpenGL or using a physics engine, but also for various other things which are traditionally not associated with game development. And coupled with the flexibility you have in Pygame, the universe of possibilities is vast. The sky is the limit. An interesting example that I have tested a bit is machine learning, which usually focuses more on research and development of AI tools, but you can easily integrate such functions into your game. Other interesting libraries I have seen used in games include computer vision libraries. For example, you could use your webcam feed to control a game. What I mean is that if you have a bolder game idea, you will find it much easier to experiment and create a prototype with Pygame and the numerous Python libraries than with any other game engine, which are more geared towards standard types of games. If you are thinking about developing 2D games, Pygame has pretty much everything you need, with tools to manipulate sprites, work with audio, handle image, controls, fonts, and many other things. The only thing I miss is a physics engine. But for that, there are Python libraries that can be used alongside Pygame. 3D graphics are possible to do in Pygame, especially in conjunction with an OpenGL or Vulkan library, but I'd only recommend this option if you already have the experience or if you want to better understand how 3D graphics work. Pygame has a very open and helpful community across various channels like Reddit, Discord, and even YouTube, and it is also reasonably well documented. On Discord, for example, you can find help with any topic related to Pygame and even Python in general, with a very helpful community there. They can even test your game and give invaluable feedback to make your game more polished. But there's currently a split in the Pygame universe between the traditional version and a slightly more advanced version called Pygame CE Community Edition, which is actually the version I used, developed by the same people from the Discord channel I mentioned earlier. Another very interesting point about having an active community is that game jams happen frequently, at least one every season, which are great times to relax a bit with a simpler project, explore your creativity in a different challenge from what you are used to do, and also interact with other game developers. Since Python runs on various platforms like Windows, macOS, Linux, and Android, Pygame obviously runs on all of these platforms too, and even directly in the browser. So if you want to publish your game or share it with your friends, you have many options, from sharing the scripts directly to creating executables for Windows or apps for the web and Android, allowing you to publish games on platforms like Steam, itch, and Play Store. Pygame is an open source project, meaning you have full access to the code that forms Pygame. Moreover, Pygame is completely free, as in beer. You owe nothing to anyone. In summary, Pygame's main strengths are tied to the Python language, with its ease of learning and development and broad ecosystem of libraries. Moreover, you have a lot of flexibility with Pygame, allowing you to do things your own way and test different ideas easily, sharing them relatively simply and quickly. Pygame is a very attractive option for beginner and amateur developers who like to understand how things work without dealing with a complex language and rigid structures. And all this is completely free, with the support of a very cool community. So that's what I had for this video. Before finishing, I'd like to know about your experiences with Pygame and if there's any other strength of Pygame that I forgot to mention here. Thanks for watching, and until the next time.